What up, YouTube? It's your boy Jay, aka Straight Drop Jay, and you're now watching Reason Gang TV. So today, I have a special treat for you. We're gonna go over the Kong drum module. Now the
Kong has some dope effects
that not a lot of producers know about. This thing is filled with all types of gems and treasures that I just want to share with you. And if you know me, you know I love 808s. I love claps, snares, subs, kicks, and I love everything 808 has to offer. So this Kong is perfect for an 808 set. It's perfect for trap music. It's perfect for any type of genre that loves 808s, and for the other genres that don't love 808s. But I'm gonna focus on everything 808s today and how Kong could enhance them. Come on, let's go. Okay, so I loaded up the Kong and I went into one of my refills and I loaded up some basic snare, a snare, a clap, a kick, a hi-hat, and open hi-hat. Basically the basic 808 stuff. Alright, so let me adjust this. So I'm gonna just record a little basic sequence, and then from there I'm gonna show you all the cool, dope little things that we could drop inside to edit the 808s and the little gems that make it sound so much better. I'm just gonna record something simple real quick. Alright, so a little simple little loop. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to that 808 sub, and it's overlapping, so already we could fix that dramatically. And how we're gonna do that, click right here on this to select the sample editing, the mini NNXT. It's called the NN Nano, and I'm gonna put it on monophonic because we don't want them overlapping. So already it's gonna sound a lot different, a lot cleaner, right? Okay, so what I like to do with my subs, I like to pitch them a little bit more subby. So I always do this, I always start on the lower octave. Okay, now the nice little gem, it's Overdrive. Now we're gonna play with it and just add some crunch to it and give it some saturation and basically some character. Now the resonance and the size have a lot to do with the character on your 808. So you play with that and you get a nice, the resonance will give you a nice little peaking frequency. You have to find it. Okay, so editing the size and the reso, I found sort of like that warm, where it's not hitting so much low frequencies, but more like the saturation frequencies. Now I'm gonna play with the models. That one sounds sick. I think I like D or C. There you go. Maybe we could juice it up a little bit with the drive. Now let's bring it back down. Ooh, boomy as hell. Okay. Now we want the kick to sit in there a little better, so we're gonna edit the kick. It sounds like the kick is it's just being overpowered, and it sounds like it's a little bit off on the pitch. So we're gonna shorten it a little bit to make it tighter and find a pitch that matches the sub. sounding a lot tighter. Now, we want that to be a little bit more controlled. This sub is what's the problem. Let's bring that all the way down. Now we can hear more of the kick. Now we want that kick real tight, so we go to the transient shaper. More attack means more punchy. Less decay means less feedback. Okay, it's hitting a little better. Let's take some of that tone to make it slide. There it goes. Now it's a little bit more controlled. Okay, so the next thing I want to go to is the hi-hat. I love quick hi-hat. Let's make those hi-hats a little bit faster. So just so we can hear them better. Scale tempo, let's double that. Join them so it's one clip. I'm gonna add, like, just make it a little more interesting. Some triplets. Some 64s right before those, just to give it this is all random, so I don't know if it's really gonna sound that dope, but all right. So now we got a little bit faster hi-hats. Now they sound a little regular. I personally like the overdrive. It makes them sit in a certain spot. A little bit too much. Okay, now we have a little harmonic frequency going on in there. We're gonna throw on a filter to give it a little more roundness. A lot of resonance. Let's bring this up until it gets crispy. Too crispy. A little bit more drive. All right, that sounds pretty good. Let's bring the resonance back down now that we found a nice little spot for it. Now we'll bring the level down and fade it in so it sits better. The thing about this is I like loud hi-hats, so it allows you to put them louder than you normally would without it hurting your ears. And we didn't do any compression or any master bussing yet, and it's already sitting a little bit tucked in a little bit. All right. This is a fun part, the snare and the clap. I think I layered the snare and the clap. That's one of the keys that I love, and then I didn't. So let's find the one that I did and just duplicate that one. Okay, snare clap layered. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the snare. Now they're layered. I look at them as one sort of sound. I like putting two claps on a snare. So let's throw one more clap in there before we start. It's more like a layering thing with the claps. All right, let's throw that one in there. I'm gonna record that in there real quick. I'm gonna record all three of them together. Now, one of the keys is I don't quantize that. Well, I'll quantize the snare, but the claps, I'll sort of like let them go off a little bit. But all right, so check it out. There it is. I found a good one, the second one. So I didn't quantize it. If I were to do just a snare, I would quantize it. But this is the snare clap, so I like them to be slightly off. Let me show you what they look like. See, they're slightly off. Okay. It gives it more of a analog sound. So first thing, we're gonna want that snare to just come out. It's already snapping pretty good, but we want it to just hit like one of those old 3-6 Mafia old tracks that they just had such good chunky fat snares. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna EQ it. It needs some fatness. We'll bring the frequency down a little bit, bring the gain up a little bit, and we'll find that warm sound. Sorry, I accidentally put it on the clap. We're not hearing what we want to do. All right. Let's go to the parametric EQ. All right, now we're gonna turn the gain up and sweep through to find the warm sound. It's around there. Right around there. Maybe a little lower. All right, I think I like that. Now let's fade the gain down so it's not so apparent. I feel like there's too much highs in the snare, so let's bring a little bit down. We'll let the claps take care of the highs. Okay. Now, it sounds pretty good frequency-wise, but I think it needs a snap. So that's where the transient comes and gives it that real snappy analog MPC kind of hit. Now, sometimes it needs less snap, so let's go to the negative side. That's sounding pretty good. Maybe a little more volume. Let's experiment with the decay. Maybe it needs to be more tighter. A little bit more tone. There it goes, I hear it. Snapping and it sounds chunky. We could play with the EQ spread. Right there, I like that. Okay. That hi-hat, that open hi-hat, it sounds like it needs a little bit of pitch correction, so it hits a little bit more piercing, because they're in the background, so they need to be piercing, but they can't be loud, but they still need to have those highs. I think I like that. Alright, now what I would normally do is add a little bit of reverb to that, just to give it a little juice, size. large. Decay, not that large. Maybe a little more pitch. Alright, there it goes. It's sitting in there, right in the background, but you could still feel the highs coming through. Let's revisit that 808 sub real quick. Now that it's in the background, I think we could add a little bit more juice. Okay. Now it sounds like it's quaking a little bit. Alright. That's sounding pretty nice. I think what's gonna complete it now, and this is part of the real dope, that part that I love in the Kong, is putting a master effect, which would be a compressor. Or we could use the transient shaper. But let me show you both characteristics because both are pretty cool. Now it sounds like it's all hitting, but it needs a little bit of editing. We agree that it's jumping in and out. Let's take the amount down. Now, keeping the attack not so fast preserves transients, but in this case, I like to crush a little bit because we have the kick popping out a little bit too high, just so it sits at the top of the mix. Now this is close to how the Master Bus SSL compressor works. It has a fast attack, but not too fast, because it still has punch. Now the release, that really goes on the tempo of your beat. So the quicker it is, would be the quicker you would want it on say if you had a lot of kicks inside a faster beat. But since it's a little slow, we can have the release a little slow. Let me show you from quick to fast. I mean quick to slow. Slow beat doesn't need to be that quick. The sweet spot is right in the middle for this tempo. Alright, I like those hi-hats, but it's hitting wrong. The frequencies need a little bit of editing. Sounds smoother. Now we could juice up a little bit. Let's see where we are on our levels. Okay, we got a little bit of room. see what a little bit of decay editing can do to a kick. Alright, now back to the snare. Let's make it a little bit faster, the tempo, because we're gonna do a beat around this in the end. And nobody really listens to a 120 beat unless it has super fast breakdowns everywhere, filling in. Alright, so I like that snare. I just want it to be a little bit, hitting a little bit higher on the pitch. Let's mess with those claps. A nice way to make the clap hit nice is an EQ and either an overdrive or a compressor. Let's try both. Clap sounding really chunky now. Let's hear how that overdrive makes it sound real distorted, and it's more like a smooth distortion with good third order harmonics. This is the secret to getting those super ATL sounds, sounding clappy, compressed, almost Tupac-ish. You gotta put it subtle so the listener feels it and not hears it. The first one's pretty normal, pretty good. In this case, I like it, but I want to add a compressor instead. Let's see how the compressor sounds. Too much. That sounds pretty nice. Let's hear before and after. It adds just a little bit of juice. Alright, bus effects. Those are really dope. What that does is that sends, it's basically an effect you could send from right here, the amount you want to go through it. Now, let's go to this clap, the only one with nothing on it. Let's make a bus effect. Now we could put this bus effect on and we could fade it on anything, but we're gonna do it with the tape echo. Nice little gem. Let's turn it real wet. And now let's turn the bus levels up. It's gonna send that clap here. It's not gonna be an insert, it's gonna be a send. Cool. Wobble is a slight wobble. Frequency. You could darken it a little bit. Higher. So it gives it a little bit of character, a little bit of, shall we say, like just a little fill-in, because you didn't even know it was there. Let's go back to the hi-hat, add a little more. Turn the damp down so it gets some highs in there. And now let's fade that away. So now that's basically some of the gems, and there's a lot more in the Kong that we don't really cover, but it has to do with outputs, sending these to external effects. It has to do with routing gates and CV messages and modulation input. A lot of cool stuff that if you really wanted to get technical, you really could get into it. But that's not the part that I'm worried about when I'm worried about 808s. This is that snappy sound. Okay, so that's the tutorial, and I hope you guys liked it. I'm gonna do a quick 5-minute beat. Let's go.